He was going through a problem with his wife, a divorce, possibly some family issues. So his son drove by and fired shots at the house, hitting Mr. Sanchez in the hand.
Texas versus Ramon Sanchez. Can I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Andrew Harris, gentlemen.
For the defense?
Brian Kimbrough for Mr. Sanchez.
And you are Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, ma'am.
Strap in, folks. Today's courtroom drama dives deep into a web of family betrayal, mental health battles, and a shocking twist of justice. At the center of it all, Ramon Sanchez, a man who finds himself shot by his own son, then arrested after an emotional meltdown, lands a police officer with a broken finger. Sound twisted? That's just the beginning. We've got a defendant with a troubled past, a plea deal with a 5-year ceiling, and an emotionally charged defense trying to shave off 2 years. But was justice served, or did the system miss the bigger picture? And here's the kicker: the son who fired the gun, never charged. You're not going to want to miss what happens when trauma meets accountability in this high-stakes sentencing. Let's break it down.
Defense, do you have any witnesses?
No witnesses, argument, Your Honor. Oh, my client, other than my client, no.
All right, could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So here's where we get our first twist. The defense waives the pre-sentencing investigation, which is typically crucial in these kinds of cases. Why? Because both sides already know what's at stake. There's a 5-year cap on the sentence. That's the ceiling. But the defense is clearly angling for something less. This is a classic let's work with what we've got moment. No deep dive into the defendant's life story through a PSI, just raw courtroom persuasion. The question is, can sympathy, context, and a bit of narrative finesse actually shave time off the clock?
Doesn't accept his responsibility 100% in this case. But there are some aspects that are a little unique, and I wanted to make sure the court understood that. I think they're mitigating. Okay, the main thing is that Mr. Sanchez was at home on the night of this incident. I think he was on his driveway listening to music. He was going through a problem with his wife, a divorce, possibly some family issues. So his son drove by and fired shots at the house, hitting Mr. Sanchez in the hand. He actually, I believe, fired a whole clip, but he hit Mr. Sanchez.
This is the emotional core of the case. Sanchez was sitting in his driveway, listening to music, clearly trying to decompress, when his own son drives by and unleashes an entire clip of bullets. One of those bullets shatters his hand. Now ask yourself, if you're the victim here, should you end up in jail? The emotional betrayal runs deep, but it's what happens after this moment that turns everything on its head. And it all starts with a tragic mix of unmedicated bipolar disorder and alcohol.
Number two, he was not taking the medication that he should have been. Of course, that's a common problem. We all know that. But it just sort of added fuel to the fire of his emotional problem. But he did not, he was not attacking the police. He was extremely upset. And I've looked at the video, and I can assure you that he lost control of his emotions. And so he got into essentially a verbal argument with the police over some trivial thing, which then led to a confrontation, which then led to him being detained and handcuffed, at which point he got upset and did not cooperate, as he should have. And an officer suffered a broken little finger as a result. And he understands that it was his doing that caused that. But it was a situation where he wasn't a defendant, in a case that was being investigated. He wasn't being arrested. He was actually a victim of a shooting. And it was that situation that created this case. Now, he has a bad record, no question about it. I mean, he's not applying for probation. I'm just suggesting to the court that a more just or fair sentence, given the circumstances, would be, say, 3 years as opposed to 5. Now, I know Mr. Sanchez would like to address the court himself. Could I call him, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, you've stated your name for the record. If you could restate it again, please.
My name is Ramon Sanchez.
All right, defense, you may ask your questions.
Thank you. Ramon, is there anything you'd like the judge to know about what happened that day or that evening?
I mean nothing. no bad towards the cops or anything. It's just I was emotionally going through a divorce at the time.
Mhm.
You know, due to my drug abuse, I stay at my mom's house because I was a provider for dialysis. And
What kind of medication were you on at the
I
time?
take Naprexa, Letipo, and Depakote, 750, 500 milligrams. I'm diagnosed with bipolar, PTSD, and
Schizophrenia.
schizophrenia. And now that I've been on my medication, I haven't been in trouble. I've been in the county almost 10 months.
Now, at the time, you were on different medication
Yes, I was.
and you weren't taking it
No, I was abusing alcohol.
and abusing alcohol.
Yes.
Okay.
But I would ask the court to see if I could have some kind of help, mental help.
No. So in sum, Your Honor, we're asking the court to take those aspects of the case into consideration and
This is a human moment. Sanchez, for all his mistakes, is pleading for mental health support. He owns up to abusing alcohol, to not taking his meds, and to lashing out. But here's the catch. In the courtroom, remorse doesn't erase responsibility. Still, this plea might influence the judge's final decision, or at least earn him placement in a therapeutic prison unit. And what do you think? Should our system prioritize treatment over punishment for someone clearly struggling with mental illness?
And you chose to consume alcohol instead.
Yes, sir.
Why?
Could be worse. I had CPS took my kids away from me. I couldn't see them until I needed to join a program, and I decided not to leave the drugs and the alcohol because I had UA stuff like that. But now I've been on my medication 10 months. I could think better, and I know what I want for myself, for my kids, and be there for the last years of my life.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. Why was your son shooting at you?
He was upset. Except I had got in an argument with him and told him that I didn't want him around my mom's house if he was going to come asking for money.
All right. I still don't understand how that translates into guns being pulled.
Well, he suffers from his bipolar himself,
So what happened with his case?
It was dismissed. They never followed up with it.
So you're saying he shot at you and the case was dismissed?
Yeah. Well, they never made a case out of it.
And how did this translate to an assault on an officer for you?
Wait a second. Sanchez was shot by his son, and his son's case was dismissed? That raises huge questions about selective prosecution. How does the shooter walk free while the shooting victim ends up facing hard time? It's a moment that reveals how systemic gaps in family dysfunction collide in tragic ways. Should the son have faced charges? Should this have been a family matter handled differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear your take on this legal twist.
Yeah.
You were shot.
Yes.
I don't see how that translates into them wanting to arrest you. When you say they're just there to ask you
Yeah,
what happened to your hand.
I blacked out, ma'am.
I think what happened, Your Honor, was that they were I think he overheard a conversation. According to the police report, he overheard a conversation between the police and I think his son. I think they were talking to his son on the phone. He got upset. He got emotionally upset. Not any rational reason. And it was then when they were detaining him after he got upset that this happened. So it doesn't excuse what happened. It doesn't mean he didn't do it. It doesn't mean he's not guilty. But that was the circumstance. And I don't think there's any question that he was shot. That's a fact.
All right. Is there anything else?
No.
Any other witnesses?
No.
This defense strategy is walking a tight line. They're not denying what happened, but they're framing it as the tragic outcome of an emotional explosion, not criminal intent. Legally, it's risky. Sympathy doesn't override criminal conduct, especially when officer injury is involved. Still, this framing could push for a lighter sentence. If the judge buys into the narrative of Sanchez as a victim of circumstance, not a violent aggressor, but will that work?
You guys, no question.
State.
Thank you.
We'll hear argument.
Well, Your Honor, again, my argument is only that in order for this sentence to be correctly reflect these facts, I believe that a lesser sentence would be justified. I think I would urge the court to consider 3 years. He's going to do time, but again, this isn't a situation where he was a possible defendant or a suspect that was resisting arrest. It was not a situation where he was doing something antagonistic to the police. He was actually a victim of a shooting, and he was extremely emotionally out of control himself. He had a lot of difficulties. And so in this situation, this injury happened. And I think it's fair that he do prison time for it. But I think a 3-year sentence would be better reflect what happened than a 5-year sentence.
State.
As I understand it, Mr. Sanchez.
And there it is. The gavel drops on 5 years in prison. Despite pleas for mercy, mental health struggles, and being the initial victim, the court emphasizes accountability for choices like choosing alcohol over medication. It's a clear signal emotional pain doesn't excuse physical harm, especially toward law enforcement. But was it the right call, or should more weight have been given to the mental health angle? Hit pause and let us know in the comments. Was justice served?
To use alcohol rather than his medication was his choice. His response to the officers was his choice. I think a cap of 5 correctly reflects the circumstances of the offense. Mr. Sanchez.
Just 1 second. Everyone, can you all whisper? All right, you may continue.
The circumstances of the offense, Mr. Sanchez's response to it, his criminal history, and the fact that it was, in part, a reflection of the choices that he made up to and including those moments.
All right. There's going to be a $2,000 fine. Time and money will run concurrent. I'm going to ask for the therapeutic community or the mental health unit at the prison. I don't have jurisdiction over that. You'll have to ask for it as well. And maybe they'll put you in the program, maybe they will not. Based upon your history and past affiliations, you say there are past affiliations, they may not accept you. But if you don't ask for it, you definitely will not be placed in it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, and the court is taking in consideration 2024 CR 2931, and the court will sentence you to 5 years in the prison. All right, did you review the document entitled Trial Court Certification of Defendant's Rights to Appeal with your attorney?
Yes.
Did you understand it and sign it?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, because this is a plea bargain agreement, because I followed your plea bargain agreement, and because you waived your right to appeal, you do not have the court's permission to appeal. Because this is a felony conviction, you're not allowed to own or possess any weapons or ammunition. If you have a question over what a weapon or ammunition is, you'll need to speak to an attorney. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, we can go off the record. I want you to know that your attorney put forth good arguments for you.
Yes.
I have to weigh certain things, right? I do have.
So here's the final breakdown. Ramon Sanchez, shot by his own son, spiraled into a mental health and substance crisis that ended in violence and landed him 5 years behind bars. Despite being a victim, his actions post-shooting, fueled by untreated bipolar disorder and alcohol, became the focal point in court. The son, never charged. The system, complex and some might say inconsistent. This case leaves us with tough questions about justice, trauma, and how courts balance empathy with accountability. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns. This is where the law meets real life. See you in the next one.
Offer for you. When you're released, make sure you stay on your medications. When you're released, if you can't find a place to go, if I'm still here, I will direct